Good morning, champions, and thank you for joining me today on Xcelerate Unplugged with me, your host, Shawn Redford. Today, we're going to be talking about ensuring the lives of children. You know, it's one of the marketing campaigns that we've been focusing on for the last number of months, and we haven't had, or rather I haven't had an opportunity to share with you how I personally talk to families and clients about the idea and the importance of ensuring the lives of the children in their family, whether it's their own children or their grandchildren. And so what I'm going to share with you today, and this is a first for me on a podcast, is a presentation. And the presentation I've called Leaving a Legacy. The idea being that, well, when you're introducing this idea to a family, there are two main reasons why families, parents or grandparents, again, should consider ensuring the lives of children. The first being to put in place the foundation for future financial security, the ability to protect or ensure the insurability of the child in the future, to lock in those low costs of insurance on those children before any illnesses or family history presents itself. As I said, creating the foundation for financial security. And this is often what most advisors like to talk about, the great asset building benefits of an insurance contract and how this asset, the cash value, the account values in this insurance policy can be used in the future to provide, whether it's income or the ability to make major purchases or give them opportunities to invest in any number of vehicles. Emergency savings, having, again, that financial security, knowing that you've got a nest egg there in the event that you need it. Freedom 55 was a marketing plan that was created by London Life back in the 80s. The idea being that you would buy a whole life policy, accumulate cash value, and by age 55, you'd be able to use that cash value in order to pay down your debts and give yourself freedom from that responsibility at that point. But as I said, as I was kicking this off, the second reason that families should ensure, or rather, why families should consider ensuring the lives of their children is for a topic that none of us want to talk about. Probably the most tragic thing that could befall any family, and that is the loss of a child. And I don't know if any of you can relate to that. Heaven forbid you've lost your own children. But if you've known families who have lost their children, as I have, I can't imagine anything more tragic. I've never witnessed anything more tragic. The impact that it has, I don't know if you ever get over it. I'm sure you don't. But the short-term implications are massive. Families fall apart. People lose their homes because people can't go back to work. They lose their reason for living in many cases. So I think it's a really important responsibility that we take as insurance professionals, risk managers, as I like to call us, to talk about ensuring the lives of children for one other major reason, and that is to give families an opportunity to grieve in the event that something, heaven forbid, were to happen. Child riders of $5 or $10 or even upwards of $30,000 are not enough. And I think it's a fine starting point to talk to families about adding child riders to lock in insurability, but it will not give that family an opportunity to grieve the loss of their child and get their lives back to some semblance of order. So what I encourage you to do, and what I'm willing to share with you, is this presentation that I've created. If you want the slides for this PowerPoint presentation, just send me an email and I'll gladly forward it to you. We will be creating a practice management, or rather business development section in our back office. And when we do so, presentations such as this will be available to you there. But in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me and I will email it to you. So for the purpose of this presentation, I needed to choose a carrier partner whose product I could reference in the slide deck. So I've chosen to use Beneva's Universal Life Insurance Contract. I'm not saying that this is the be all and end all. It is a wonderful product for this solution, but it's certainly not the only one. So as I said, this is a presentation that you could share with your client. It's called Leaving a Legacy. And initially I designed it to talk to grandparents about the idea of sharing a gift that lasts for generations. I don't know about you, but I can recall a number of times when my children were younger, the grandparents, whether it was my parents or my in-laws, would give us cash. The kids didn't need cash, and they certainly didn't need extravagant gifts either. So the idea of having a conversation with them and saying, hey, long after you're gone, you'll be able to live on in the memories and the hearts of your children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren, by showing them that you cared enough to put in place, as I said earlier, that foundation for future financial security. And this is the presentation that I would walk them through. So first, I like to do it in the form of a case study, where we meet, in this case, Mary and Don. Mary and Don are grandparents, okay, very proud grandparents of their granddaughter, Gertie. And they want to leave, and they are entirely intending to leave money to Gertie as part of their estate. They're also interested in helping to provide some financial security for Gertie. I don't know about you, but grandparents often care more about their grandchildren than their children, right? So talking about the idea of being able to put in place some financial security for that child, that grandchild, is really going to resonate with the grandparents. And you know what? Let's face it. I'm sure we don't want to think about it. Might not want to admit it, but we do want to be remembered after we're gone. That's why families and individuals leave money to hospitals, so that they can have their name plastered on the side of a building, so that their time that they spent on this planet isn't forgotten. We all want to be remembered for something and have some value left behind. So it's a great way for them to ensure that their grandchildren will continue to remember them long after they're gone. And I'll use an example of my own. My grandmother bought an insurance policy for me many, many years ago, and she's long since passed. She passed away in 2003, and we were very close. And I can tell you that I think about her often. But once a year at least, when I get that annual statement from the insurance company, it's a reminder that many years ago, before I even had a relationship with her, because I was really too young to remember anyway, she cared enough about me to go out, spend her money, and she was struggling at the time, but she spent her money on a monthly basis for years and years and years to ensure that I would have that financial security. And the funny thing is, I will never use that life insurance policy in my lifetime, but I'm reminded about it every single year. And her benefit, her legacy is going to be passed on to my kids when I pass away, because I'm the insured on that policy. So as you can see, this is the conversation that you're going to be having with them. Their love, their commitment to that financial security is going to last for generations. Now, one thing I would say is that this strategy, in my opinion, should never be used as a replacement to contributing to savings plans, true savings plans like registered education savings plans, or in the United States, the equivalent. It's really important to take advantage of any tax savings that you can. And I have to admit, I'm not familiar enough yet with the American tax system, but in Canada, the fact that the government gives you free money, a free grant to invest in a child's education, is a better return on your investment than any life insurance policy ever would. So you, in my opinion, you would not do this as an alternative to an education savings strategy. However, it is a great complement to an education savings strategy. So how are we going to open this conversation up with the grandparents? Well, you're going to first start by talking about the fact that there are traditional reasons why you would want to insure a child, whether it's locking in that low cost of insurance because the child is young. Insurance only gets more expensive as you get older. So why not take advantage of that opportunity now? Second is locking in their insurability. And I'm going to talk about this at a little more length in the next slide. But the things that impact the insurability of that child, or grandchild in this case, isn't only their own health, but that of their family as well. And a lot of people aren't aware that family history plays into the insurability of the individual. And then finally, that the coverage provides protection for Gertie's future family, as well as the flexibility and opportunity with the account values that are going to accumulate in the policy to do all sorts of things if Gertie chooses to down the road. And we'll talk about that as well. But finally, you're going to talk to the family about the fact that this does provide an opportunity for them to grieve if, heaven forbid, something should happen. This is so much better than a $5,000 child rider, as I said earlier on, which really does not provide that family an opportunity to take time off and to get the support that they need in order to recover from this incredible tragedy, should it happen. So let's talk about insurability. So here's Gertie. We're having a bit of fun with her. She's 4 years old. She's healthy. She's a handful. Everything is wonderful. But let's talk about the future insurability risks. What are the things that could impact her ability to qualify for life insurance and this financial foundation in the future? Things like family history, as I said, whether it's the grandparents, the parents, the siblings, any of these things could potentially impact the insurability of the child. So the sooner they lock in that insurability, the better. Juvenile diseases. Unfortunately, as individuals go through puberty, their body goes through a lot of changes, and this often can result in diseases or ailments or even mental afflictions. So it's really important to lock in the insurability for those reasons. Smoking, vaping has become an epidemic in North America. It's unfortunate, but I see children going into the corner store, the corner convenience store, and being able to buy vape pens. And it's not like cigarette smoking when we were kids, which smelled disgusting, tasted disgusting, but it tastes like bubble gum now. So it's more like candy, and it's just too accessible, unfortunately. And as we're all aware, smoking might not necessarily impact your ability to get insurance, but it will certainly affect the amount of the premium for that insurance. Lifestyle choices. As we are teens and growing up, we often make some bad choices in our lives as we are looking for independence. These choices, unfortunately, can lead to consequences that would impact the insurability of the child. Drug and alcohol abuse, again, unfortunately, it's very accessible and also could impact their insurability. Mental illness, and I blame social media for this in large part, but we hear often that depression, anxiety, ADHD are on the rise all across North America. So making sure that these things are in place beforehand is, again, extremely important. And then who knows what the future holds, right? Whether it's pandemics or alien encounters or murder hornets, who knows what could impact the future insurability of this child. Now, the fun part to talk about is the ability to build tax-free savings within the contract. And what can we use these tax-free savings for? Whether it's education funding, a down payment on a home, financial freedom. And what do we mean by financial freedom? Well, having this asset there that maybe it would allow you to start a business. You could borrow against it to start a business or to invest when perhaps there's an opportune time in the market. You could leverage against it. Any number of things that give you at least the choice to make decisions that you might not otherwise have. A common strategy as well, if this money isn't used in their lifetime for any other reason, is to supplement their retirement income with a tax-free income stream in their retirement. And then finally, just having emergency proceeds there. Again, we talked about this is a great tool to create financial security for the future. And I'm doing this, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know if you saw this. I'm talking about this because the financial pyramid starts with insurance. At the very bottom of the financial pyramid, we're starting with building a foundation that starts with insurance and cash management. So, leaving a legacy. Here, we're going to talk about an actual case study. And this is actually a real case study. So Gertie here, 4 years old, the family was willing to invest $2,000 a year into this solution for the child, but the grandparents are paying for it. So it makes sense to have a 20-year time horizon on it. $200,000 was the amount of coverage that we decided to go with. And again, remember, one of the reasons why we're doing this isn't just to build up cash flow and be able to provide that financial security in that way. But the $200,000 would afford the family an opportunity to take time off of work. They're certainly going to qualify for disability insurance should something, heaven forbid, happen. But what does that mean? Are they going to have 100% of their income? Are they going to be able to get the resources that they need for mental support? So the $200,000 offers both parents and even siblings resources to help them get through this horrible tragedy. In this case, we're using a YRT policy, and we've in the illustration that I did for the client, it was run at 5%. Usually, I would encourage you to run illustrations at 3 or 4%, but this was a competitive situation where the other advisor was using a whole life policy and using current dividend rather than current -1. So we chose to go with 5%. If you're using a whole life policy, I would recommend you illustrate at current -1 or even maybe current -2. It's always better to underpromise and overdeliver. So we ran it. We actually used, as you can see here, life design analysis to help with the presentation of this strategy. Life design analysis, for those of you who don't know, is a web-based software platform that allows you to do policy comparisons for a variety of different products. It's not necessary for you to do, but for the presentation, we had it included. So here we just illustrated the cash value growing over time. We illustrated the death benefit growing over time. We threw it into a table format so the clients could see the numbers. But you certainly don't need to do this. But I do encourage you to do the following, and that's break down the slide in this regard in terms of the benefits that the client's going to receive. So in this instance, what we've said is, in addition to the cash value, there are some additional benefits that we are going to talk about in the next slide, things like the extreme disability benefit that's offered, privilege in case of disability, blah, blah, blah. But here is what we highlight: at different ages, different time horizons in the child or grandchild's life, what could they potentially have in this portfolio, and what are the things that they could possibly utilize these proceeds for? So at age 20, or sorry, rather 20 years into this contract, Gertie would be 24 years old. There's $63,000 of cash value in here. Perhaps she could use this to pay down her student debt or pay for her post-secondary, or rather postgraduate education, or buy the vehicle that she needs to get to work at her new job, any number of things, right? At age 35, there's $82,000, $83,000 of cash value in here. What would a 35-year-old use these proceeds for? Things like a down payment on a home, or helping to subsidize the cost of their extravagant wedding. Any number of things, right? Age 55, maybe now we're starting to think about retirement. So the $239,000 might be advantageous to pay down a high interest mortgage, for example. If the interest rate on this could be lower because it's collateralized against the insurance policy, maybe they could use it to start a business, or invest in a business, or invest in their children's business. Any number of ideas. Age 75, there's $600,000 in here. Now they can maybe supplement the retirement income and take a draw of an extra $15,000, $20,000, or $30,000, $50,000 a year for a period of time to help them do the things that they want to do in retirement. Or maybe at age 90, with $1 million of cash value, they're taking money out of the policy to help with their long-term care needs, to help cover the costs of dealing with the variety of ailments that might be afflicting them at that time. So have conversations about the different stages in the child's life where they could use these proceeds, all because of the nominal outlay of capital, in this case, $40,000 that grandma and grandpa put aside for this child years in advance. Now, if you do have a policy where you can highlight additional benefits, like we can in the benefit contract, now is the time to do so. So I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I am just going to say you would highlight things like there's an extreme disability benefit. So in the event that this child becomes extremely disabled, unable to perform 4 out of the 6 activities of daily living, then up to 50% of the death benefit can be advanced to the child. They don't have to be terminal, just suffering from long-term disability. And they can use these proceeds to help them, I don't know, buy a new vehicle that they're obviously going to require, or retrofit their home as necessary to accommodate their condition. Privilege in case of disability, they can access, and this is the case in the US as well, I can tell you. There, with many of these policies, you're able to access the account value or the cash value on a tax-free basis to help you with your inability to perform any of the activities of daily living. Guaranteed insurability benefit. The fact that in addition to the base coverage of $200,000, this child, once they become an adult, has the opportunity to purchase more coverage without having to qualify, without any evidence of insurability. They can purchase additional coverage at later dates. Now, the cost will be based on their age at the time of conversion, and every company is going to have different stipulations for this, but again, it's just an additional benefit that's included in this contract. And then finally, with the benefit contract, while the child is a child, it includes critical illness insurance at no additional cost, again, just until the child turns 18. But there are 8 covered conditions that are usually child afflictions that would be covered during that period of time. And it's 25% of the death benefit to a maximum of $50,000. So you would have this conversation with the client, but then you bring it all together. Why is this such a scary good idea? Well, let's break it down. The first thing is in the event of a tragedy, there's capital available to the family. $200,000 in the event of death, at least. Again, it's that plus the account value as well. $100,000 in the event of an extreme disability because of the provisions in this contract specifically. $50,000 in the event of a critical illness insurance. So you're showing how there's protection for any number of tragedies that could come up in this child's life. Second, you're providing the foundation for financial security. You've locked in that low cost of insurance. You've locked in their ability to qualify for insurance. You've locked in $200,000 right now, but also an additional $250,000 possibly down the road, should they not be able to qualify themselves medically. And then finally, the fun part, the liquidity, the flexibility, to allow them to have cash available in the event of an emergency. If they just wanted to supplement their income, whether it's in retirement or some short-term period of time, if they happen to suffer job loss, if they have any major purchases or investments that they'd like to take advantage of, that is all available because grandma and grandpa decided to leave a legacy, create that financial security for the future for this child. So, as you can see, it's not just about the warm, fuzzy benefits of an insurance contract, but we also want to highlight the possible risk, which is our job as insurance professionals, as risk managers. It is our job to talk about the things that families don't want to talk about. So, if you've liked this presentation, if you would like to have it, as I said earlier, just send me an email. You've got my contact information. I'd be happy to share it with you. I just want once again, thank you for tuning in to Xcelerate Unplugged with Shawn Redford, and I hope to see you at a future event. Take care and create a great day. Thanks for watching Xcelerate. I have another great video right here, so check it out. And remember, Xperia Financial Group is about real people, real ownership, and real change. Let us help you accelerate your growth.